Previously, a boy named Akira is dragged into a deadly game where people must constantly fight to survive. He discovers he has ability to turn his hand into a cannon, so he uses it to finish given quests. His last quest leads him to a man called Shiroyanagi, who is a leader of so-called Green Team that fights the evil Red Team. To see if he is really a true leader, Akira aims his cannon at Shiroyanagi to test him. Akira follows through, firing at Shiroyanagi, who is able to block his ability without break a sweat. Satisfied with the test, Akira apologizes and joins the Green Team. He and Yuri are given a room where the two of them talk in private. There, Akira tells Yuri that his true ability is actually telepathy. He is able to make it manifest, establishing a telepathic link with her. They use the telepathic link to talk to each other directly into their minds without speaking out loud, as Akira is convinced people might be listening in on them. While doing so, they learn more about each other, deepening their bond, and Akira promises to help Yuri get out of this place so she can return to Riria, as long as she can keep his real ability a secret. Then he explains what his real ability actually is. Before they can talk more about it, Mion appears on their interfaces, announcing a massive kill quest that will happen tomorrow, which will allow them to rack up a lot of points. Both the Green and the Red Team prepare to set out, while the Blue Team's leader is not motivated enough to have them participate. Arriving at the designated quest area, Mion greets them, announcing the rules of the quest and making their enemies. A lot of big, muscular ghouls appear. Akira recognizes the ghouls being the same as the person who chased him down before he got transported here. The Green Team starts strong, working together to easily dispatch ghoul after ghoul, racking in the points. Things change once the Red Team shows up with their leaders Kiro and Ishii. They send their slaves to charge the ghouls in a suicide rush, forcing the Green Team to try and rescue as many people as they can, revealing their abilities for everyone to see. Mion decides to spice things up, summoning the ghoul boss into the battle. In order to protect his people from the overwhelmingly strong monster, Shiroyanagi reveals the full extent of his power to the Red Team, returning the damage he was blocking from the monster's attacks back at it. But even that is not enough to bring it down for good, as it eats the other ghouls to heal its wound, getting back up to continue the fight. Yuri and Akira step in to save Shiroyanagi from the ghoul boss, and by planning their move through telepathy, they lure the monster out of sight of the Red Team, where Akira puts a plan he had in motion. With Yuri's help, he is able to avoid the monster's attack and get close enough to blast its head off using his cannon. Shiroyanagi and the Red Team are shocked at how he managed to do this, thinking he might be quite an interesting individual. The monster starts getting back up again, but Ishii jumps in and finishes it off. Yuri gets into an argument with him in regards of the way he used his slaves, and fight breaks out. Mion steps in, stopping the fight for the moment, and instead creating a quest that will have the same goal in mind. The quest will be a war game between the two teams, and the team who hunts down the other team's king will be victorious. Kiro demands the survival of the entire team to be on the line, meaning that all of the members of the losing team will die. Mion likes the idea and approves of it, giving everyone a week to prepare. Ringo meets with Akira in private to thank him for saving her, also revealing that her copying ability lets her know exactly what the abilities of others are, so she knows what Akira's ability really is. Akira is confused as to why she would tell him that, but Ringo explains that her ability is useless to her on her own, so she would like for the two of them to team up. Akira asks her if she knows the powers from the Red Team's members, which she confirms that she does. The next day, one of the rescued slaves that was held captive in the Green Team's camp returns to the Red Team, explaining how he managed to escape thanks to the spy they have in the Green Team, and has important information for the boss. While the slave is telling them what the spy saw Akira do during the fight, the most powerful members from the Red Team are gathering up in preparation for the quest. Later on, Akira and Yuri are on their way to meet with the Blue Team. During their walk to the meeting point, Akira and Yuri have a chance to talk in private. Akira tells her about his conversation with Ringo, explaining what she knows and wants. Akira also tests out a new transformation ability he came up with. Yuri helps him by thinking he has that ability, so he can manifest it, transforming into someone else. Satisfied with the results, they finally meet up with the Blue Team. The negotiations with the Blue Team's leader, Amoto, end up being fruitless as he refuses to interfere with the conflict. Mendoka is also there with the Blue Team, but he declares that he will join the Red Team just so he can fight against Akira and get his rematch. Back in the Green camp, everyone is preparing for the upcoming battle. Finally, the day of the battle dawns and the Green Team arrives at the designated quest area. Mion uses her interfaces to explain all the rules for the quest and the points they can earn and spend during the duration it, to gain an advantage over the enemy team. After registering their king, the Green Team heads out to capture the strategic locations in the area, which will grant them more points. Everything is going well until the squad led by Asuka gets attacked by the Red King Ishii. His strength is too much for her to handle, and her entire squad gets wiped out. Other squads rush to her aid so they could gang up on the Red Team's king, but they get intercepted by the members of the Red Team. Akira ends up facing against Rin, who joined up with the Red Team quickly after entering the third program. But instead of fighting, the two of them have a short conversation, agreeing to go through with a previously agreed upon exchange. Meanwhile, Shin ends up facing against Yuki from the Red Team, whose ability is to shrink things. By using his ability in combination with extremely durable wires, he quickly severs Shin's hand. Ishii is about to finish off Asuka when Yuri arrives to help her. Both Ishii and Yuri have the same ability, but Ishii has the upper hand in strength and endurance. On the other hand, Yuri uses her smaller and lighter frame to be faster than him. Ishii is quite excited to finally have a fight in which his opponent can actually pose a challenge to him. In the Green Team's base, Shiroyanagi and Ringo are shocked to learn there is another spy they did not discover yet among them, perplexed as to who it could be. Akira runs into Madoka, who is eager to prove himself against him, and so the two start their fight. At the same time, another member of the Red Team jumps in, Rindu, trying to kill Akira. He possesses the same ability as Madoka. Madoka is angry at Rindu for getting in the way of his duel, and so he teams up with Akira to beat Rindu first. It seems this was Akira's plan all along, as he made sure, with Rin's help, that both Rindu and Madoka would find him at the same time. Akira and Madoka come up with a plan and, working together, manage to defeat Rindu. In another location, Renka from the Red Team has wiped out another squad from the Green Team. Just as he is about to kill them, Rin appears. Renka is outraged that Rin joined the Red Team as an equal member and not a slave, thinking how she took his spot as the sexy idol. The two of them clash, and ultimately Rin is victorious. Using her ability to turn bodily fluids into torture equipment, she stabs through the true body of Renka, killing him and his slave after explaining that she made a deal with the Green Team, thanks to which she would be able to survive regardless of which team won. Shin is pushed to his limit by Yuki, not wanting to use his ability as he considers it to be evil, since an evil organization gave it to him. Just as he is about to be killed, Haruka, the girl that he saved before, rushes to his aid. Yuki turns his attention to her, and Shin is forced to make a decision between standing by his ideals or saving Haruka. At that moment, he remembers his deceased older brother and how he is alive now thanks to him. Thinking of what his brother would say, he realizes it is more important to protect those he holds dear. With this resolve, he activates his 2-second invincibility, which is more than enough to defeat the surprised Yuki. Katsuya's squad has been wiped out as well, with only Katsuya left standing against the Red Team's Neoharu. Just as he is prepared to sacrifice his life in order to buy more time for the Green Team, Akira shows up to face against Neoharu in his stead. Akira quickly sends Katsuya ahead to help others, so he would not spectate his fight against Neoharu. Figuring out that Neoharu's ability is to force chemical reactions to happen, Akira keeps his distance from him. Since projectiles would not work against Neoharu, Akira shows him Rinda's sword, making Neoharu think his ability is to copy other people's abilities. Thanks to him thinking that Akira is able to use Rinda's special move to slash through Neoharu, defeating him in one strike. Back in the Green Team's headquarters, Shiroyanagi figures out who the Red Team's spy is. It turns out it was an elderly lady named Momoko who was laying low in the Green Team for a very long time. She threatens to kill Asuka's baby if Shiroyanagi does not surrender, which he does. Once he is confirmed to be defeated, she kills him on the spot. Afterwards, Momoko contacts Kuro, telling him that she succeeded in her mission. But when Kuro attempts to confirm his victory, Mion tells him that they have not taken out the Green Team's king. Realizing that their king must be Akira, just as he shows up in front of Kuro, Ringo stands up against Momoko, not wanting her to take Asuka's baby away. Momoko, on the other hand, wants to atone for her inability to protect Ishii and Kuro when they were little by taking the baby and raising it on her own. Even though Ringo is not a skilled fighter, she manages to trick Momoko in thinking she had killed the baby, making her lose focus on the battle and forcing her to admit defeat. Momoko still tries to kill Ringo from behind so she could get the baby, but Ringo sees her coming and ends up killing her instead. Madoka and Shin join up with Yuri to help her in the fight against Ishii. Kuro realizes that Akira found his location by using the points they got from capturing the strategic locations quickly, but he remains confident, declaring how he was doing everything like he expected him to do. At that point, a bunch of slaves come out of hiding and surround Akira. Akira is aware of how Kuro's ability works thanks to Ringo, who explained it in detail. Akira activates the teleportation ability to get behind Kuro, where more slaves were already waiting on him. Kiro reveals that a spy told him that he could use another ability just like this one, so he was prepared for it. Kiro proceeds to stab Akira in his guts, gloating over his assumed victory. At that point, Akira reveals that he has him exactly where he wants him, hinting with his way of speech at Shiroyanagi, which makes Kiro think of Shirasagi's ability. That allows Akira to activate that ability and block Kiro's next attack, following up with the second part of the ability that returns that block damage back at Kiro. Damage is so severe that Kiro does not have long left to live, and the slave chains binding people to him disappear. It becomes apparent that Akira was subtly manipulating Kiro into thinking what his abilities are, allowing him to use them in return. Akira reveals that he was even prepared for the stab from Kiro ahead of time, placing some freshly packaged meat under his clothes that absorb the stab and bleed instead of him. Kiro admits defeat and tosses away his interface, but still remains convinced that they will not be able to defeat Ishii. Even 1 against 3, Ishii is winning the fight. Easily overpowering Madoka and Shin, only Yuri is able to remain standing against him. Before Ishii can kill Yuri and the others, Akira broadcasts a message telling Ishii that he will come fight him one-on-one if he spares those he is fighting now. Ishii realizes that this means that Kiro has been killed, and even though he is obviously affected by his friend's death, he accepts Akira's proposal. Akira arrives at Ishii's location, where the only other conscious person is the horribly beat-up Yuri. It seems even this was something Akira prepared for, as he remembers the plans he had made with Yuri beforehand. Namely, what kind of ability she would imagine him having, and how well he would be able to use it. Placing the plan into motion, she thinks of Akira being stronger, which allows him to use a similar ability to hers but weaker, that he is able to control with his body. This proves to be just enough to take out the already beat-up Ishii. Once he is down, Mion announces the winning team to be green. Before they can celebrate, Mion shows up in person and sends Akira on his way to receive the reward for clearing the quest. On the way there, Akira suddenly gets ambushed by the blue team's leader, Amoto, who tells him that he has observed the match and has found his ability quite intriguing. After leading the conversation to make Akira think he had the cannon arm ability, he manifests it and blasts Akira, stating how he has no interest in him or the program, that he wants to kill Mion with his own hands, and he needs Akira to help him achieve that. Akira wakes up back in his home, and after doing his usual morning routine, he heads off to school. On the way to school, he changes his mind and instead goes to practice by playing some video games. Afterwards, he meets up with Yuri, who is overjoyed to see him, and pulls him into a hug. In the end, it seems like Akira, Yuri, Madoka, Shin, Ringo, and Rin have all made it through the third program and are now back in Tokyo. Instead of the cuffs on their wrists, there are green stripe tattoos. In the end, there is an announcement for the next stage of the program that will take place in Tokyo. Hey, thank you for staying all the way till the end. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. It takes only a second, but it means everything to us. Have a great day and see you in the next video.